Good day, students! Welcome to Practical Research 1. This subject is an introduction to qualitative research methods and report writing. By the way, why do we need to engage in research? And what can you say about this picture? The research journey. This picture highlights how a study may develop throughout the process. It is often non-linear and uniterative process. Research pertains to any systematic investigation of any social or natural phenomena where results and conclusions are aimed at contributing to generalizable knowledge. You students seem to engage in research every day of your lives. An example is when you try to determine which brand of phone has the best specifications. So remember that research is continuous as shown in this picture. So before we proceed to our lesson for today, here are the objectives that you should remember. Define research. Identify the aims, functions, and characteristics of research. Differentiate between qualitative and quantitative research. Explain the research process. And lastly, cite the characteristics of a successful researcher. The nature and importance of research. People's lifestyle has changed almost totally over the years. Long time ago, people manually soiled clothes and bathed in the rivers. Today, machines have been a great help in every human task. So these improvements in technology and improvements in our way of living are brought about by research, even the coronavirus vaccine. Also, research seeks to understand people in various groups, for example, the indigenous groups, for the course of human advancement. The word research was coined from two words. Re means again, and search means to look for something. Thus, research denotes to look for something again. Research is an organized method of finding relatively new ideas from the existing body of knowledge with the help of useful tools for the purpose of improving the quality of life. So research has paved ways in creating innovative technologies for a more comfortable and convenient life. Aside from its goal to improve the quality of life, research has the following aims. First, verification of existing knowledge. This leads to the development of new ideas, strengthening a current knowledge or debunking a theory. Second, acquisition of new knowledge. Aside from strengthening the truthfulness of a theory, research also brings new ideas regarding a theory or even create a totally new theory. Third, application of new knowledge. Once new ideas are proven true, they can be transformed to something useful to humankind. And lastly, advancement of researchers' expertise. Researchers gain relevant experiences that enhance and deepen their knowledge and skills in the area of their investigations. So these are the four aims of research. Just like any other discipline, research has its own characteristics. So these characteristics distinguish research from other scholarly undertakings. The first one is realistic. So research is a realistic undertaking that must result to empirical data or those that are derived from actual observations. Number two, logical. It follows valid, definite principles, frameworks, and procedures. So failure to follow these procedures correctly may yield to invalid outcomes. It starts with a problem and ends with another. So this process continues until such time that a purified body of knowledge is attained. Number 4, analytical. Elicits desired meaning from obtained information. So proper analysis of the data should be done before making final conclusions. Number 5, objective. Data must be free from bias or prejudice. Number 6, critical. The research is said to be critical when the researcher is careful and precise in processing ideas or judgment. The credibility of the researcher plays an important and critical role in qualitative research. And lastly, replicable, where other researchers can redo or repeat the investigation. It is only through this process that a study can claim a valid and reliable results. Research can also be classified according to the method or approach it uses. So we have qualitative and quantitative research. But what is the difference between the two? So let's find out. So let us first discuss all about qualitative research. Qualitative research deals with the characteristics observed from the respondents. Its aim is to understand underlying reasons and to gain insights in the prevailing trends. It is interpretative and contextualized. Hypotheses or assumptions may emerge as the study progresses. Samples are identified using non-probability sampling. Data collection is unstructured or pre-informed. It requires minimal to no use of statistical tests. So the outcome of this research method is inconclusive and needs further study before recommending a course of action. Lastly, findings are particularly in-depth about a certain phenomenon. Quantitative research, on the other hand, expresses data in terms of numerical values. It draws out exact ideas from samples. Hypotheses are specifically stated at the outset and tested. Samples are identified using probability sampling. It employs structured procedures and uses statistical tests. It is conclusive, usually descriptive in nature, and are used to recommend a final course of action. Findings are generalizable to all situations. How is research conducted? Research follows the steps similar to scientific method. It usually begins with an interest in a particular phenomena. The initial step is the recognition of the research problem. Here, you ask yourself, what is it that you want to find out or discover about a phenomenon or set of phenomenon that you are interested in? So problems may be in the form of questions that need to be answered at the end of the research activity. Next is to formulate hypotheses and design the study. A hypothesis is an intellectual guess or tentative answer to the research questions, while a research methodology is the key to success of any research endeavor. Here, you answer the following questions. For whom your data will come? When and where do you plan to gather the data? And how are you going to facilitate this study? Next is to collect and organize data. Data collection is the process of gathering information by means of a defined method in order to support the hypothesis. Here, you answer the following questions. What types of data do you need to enable you to answer the research questions? Are the data both available and accessible? Next is to analyze data and test the hypothesis. You examine data against the preconceived hypothesis, so noting responses hasten the process of generating meaningful results and implications. So details of this part will be discussed later on. Next is to interpret data. Here, you draw out meaningful implications relative to the formulated hypothesis. And lastly, to report results. Results may be disseminated to give rise to further questions or research problems to be undertaken by interested parties. So what do you think are the characteristics you should possess to attain a successful investigation? So let's find out. A successful researcher should be curious. Discovering or learning new things is a trait of a curious individual. You should be determined to investigate the complexity of things. Next, efficient. It is manifested in your proper use of time, effort, and resources. Logical. Be sensible and follow procedures identified to the scientific method. Be effective. Know how to foresee errors so that they can be addressed immediately. Be active. Be involved and collaborative with others relevant to their expertise. Practical. Find ways to make use of the given resources and locally available materials. Be inventive. Always try to find unique or new ways to handle difficulties in solving a problem. Be honest. Have a high level of intellectual honesty by reporting accurate results. And lastly, cost-effective. Remember that every single peso is important and resources must be utilized properly. So those are the characteristics of a successful researcher. In summary, research is a systematic process of solving a problem or finding answers to an inquiry. So research is a journey. Travel it well. So for your activity, please refer to the learning guide. So that ends our lesson for today. Have a great learning day!